Some Perspectives of the Savitri Upakhyan by R.Y. Deshpande. In fact, Vyasa Savitri is a Triya in Uno, written on 3 levels as a piece of poetic composition narrating a tale. The tale used to illustrate and establish truth values in life, the legend and the myth taken on an occult cosmic scale. A great luminous power of revelation is released by poetry when it becomes paradoxically the speech of sight and the image of sound seen and heard with subtle senses, attuned to invisible and inaudible perceptions of things that are eager to take form of some flaming beauty in a body of truth born by authentic delight of a splendorous urge. In the tranquil receptive blank of the seer poet, the word arrives from distant shores and delivers its riches that are carried to deeper interiors, making them rich with its own wonders. When Vyasa speaks of Savitri as Dhyana Yoga Parayana, adept in the yoga of meditation, Satyavan as a Gunasagar, ocean of merit, an epithet of Brahma himself, Yama as Pitrarajastam Bhagavan, King, Father, Lord, the saints guiding the sun, upholding the earth, giving refuge to the 3 divisions of time and protecting the world, or the incantatory verses about the divine Savitri, or Savitri is glowing like goddess fortune, Sri Vyavardhata, or the epic details like the bifurcation of the path in the forest at the group of palas trees, or Savitri trembling with fear on hearing the cruel howling of the she-jackals, or the repeated assurances of the rishis to the afflicted Tyumutsena, or the aphoristic utterances that abound throughout the narrative. In all these, not only do we perceive the overhead atmosphere pervading the poetry, making it also classically sublime, but there is as well the pure white solidity of substance, elevated to calm poised dharmic heights, charged with several minute particulars as the tale is. A whole system of social philosophy can be, without much effort, gleaned from it. Take, for example, Ashwapati as a king and as father. He was saintly in nature, devout and a follower of the Dharma, lived in pious company of the Brahmins and the virtuous. He was engaged in performance of yajnas, gave away great charities, ruled over his kingdom wisely and with skill and hard work, and had the welfare of state at his heart. He respected the elders and the learned, always accepted and followed, even in the extreme situations of life, the advice of a high soul, considered as a part of his duty and continuance of the ancestral line important, basically for the performance of dharmic sacrifices, attended to the upbringing of his daughter, and arranged for her all-round development, thus fulfilling the fatherly responsibility. That Savitri was well versed in the sacred lore and was highly qualified in logic, reason, speech, and the rules of grammar, and was one who did all her actions in the serene poise, even while holding the excellent tenets of life firmly. Indeed, certify how properly her parents had brought her up. Ashwapati was of a forgiving nature, always spoke the truth, and strictly observed self-control and good abstinence, and gave himself to moderation. Even when Narad made the prophecy of Satyavan's death, he remained unperturbed and accepted it as the will of the Supreme. Many other incidents that have come in the course of narration in this small tale also drive home well the nobility in which the ancients lived and pursued their high goals, not only on the earth but in life beyond too. And everywhere the master touch is infinite and lanes are yonder to all ends, to use Meredith's phrase. In the vision and work of a rishi's man, twofold need always find satisfaction in a most complete way. He maintains the harmony between the life of an ascetic, and of a householder, each fulfilling the other. The aim is to achieve perfection in the world as much as in the state after death. The claim of the spirit and the claim of the matter present no conflict to him. This was the idea force which had urged Vyasa in this great creative endeavor. In it, he did business with men and gods. To uphold dharma and social order is a working translation of the Gita's conception of Lok Samagraha for the individual developing self-consciousness in the dynamics of the day-to-day. Even though noble souls may suffer in the process, that itself on participation in the endeavor becomes a reward. The gods and the sages help mankind grow in the dharma, which is in fact the law of the inner being in perfect accord with the spiritual truths. That is the work of supreme sacrifice, of the offering of the will to be, of the bright yajna dear to the Creator and to the builders of society, cherishing enduring values. The foundation stone is laid high above, and it is on it that here the entire edifice is built downward. Of this temple tower, Vyasa was one luminous builder. It was because he could possess the total sense of detachment, nishkama bhava, that the impelling force came to him from the inherent potency of the word, which is not only descriptive but also injunctive and revelatory. We may appreciate the significance of the injunctive aspect of the tale better from what Sri Aurobindo has written in a larger context regarding the old Vedic tradition that was carried forward by the poets of Mahabharata and Ramayana. The poets wrote with a sense of their function as architects and sculptors of life, creative exponents, fashioners of significant forms of the national thought and religion and ethics and culture, a profound trace of thought and life, a large and vital view of religion and society. A certain strain of philosophic idea runs through these poems, and the whole ancient culture of India is embodied in them with a great force of intellectual conception and living presentation. The Mahabharata has been spoken of as a fifth Veda. It has been said of both these poems that they are not only great poems, but dharmashastras, that which was for the cultured classes contained in the Veda and Upanishad, shut into profound philosophic aphorism and treatise, or inculcated in Dharmashastra and Arthashastra, was put here into creative and living figures associated with familiar story and legend, fused into a vivid representation of life, and thus made a near and living power that all could readily assimilate through the poetic world, appealing at once to the soul and imagination and the intelligence. The Savitri tale is also written entirely in the same epic spirit and bears witness everywhere to the mission it purports to accomplish as a fine document of Dharmashastric ideals in molding a social philosophy. But of supreme importance beyond poetry and the concerns of society is the third term of Triyajanta Uno, bringing with it the revelatory power of the word. It is said oftentimes that in the Veda, the word itself is the speaker, and that it alone explains itself. We have to hear its sound in deep hush of the heart and allow the meaning to emerge in the wideness of silent mind. If the tale of Savitri belongs to the glory of that Vedic attainment, then surely it too must be recovered in the very special way by which it was given. It possesses in its secret and esoteric symbolism the gleaming contents of a transcendental truth that has formulated itself by occult means, seeking self-expression here. It is a pregnant legend delivering to us the profound mystery of existence in the world of death. It bears the breath of a superconscient, awakened life that from every limb of the mortal creature may radiate the same mortality which it carries with it. But even if the tale is to be taken as a simple narration of a historical event which might have happened somewhere and sometime in the far legendary past, it yet escapes all association of space and time and assumes a permanent universal significance without losing touch with them in its and their dynamics. The pragmatism is a recognition of the law of life by death through which life sans death should be possible. The dark riddle of the world may be complex, but is certainly not insoluble and is waiting for the conscious light to brighten it from within and from above. If in the enigmatic unforeseen there is a meaning, perhaps it has to be discovered in this possibility of an adventurous experiment in delight. Vedic parables are always rich in several hues of a basic truth principle operating in the play of forces and have the power to actualize the realizable. Savitri belongs to these, and there is always the benign hand leading and guiding a true aspirant to his goal of sunlit immortality. Take for instance Rishi Kutsa, who is by his tapasya had become Indra's companion and favorite and had acquired such similarity with him that only a luminous perception could distinguish between them. About it, Sri Aurobindo writes, "The human soul is Kutsa, he who constantly seeks the seer knowledge, as his name implies, and he is the son of Arjuna or Arjuni, the white one, child of Svitra, the white mother. He is, that is to say, the sattvic or purified and light-filled soul which is open to the unbroken glories of the divine knowledge. And when the chariot reaches the end of its journey, the own home of Indra, the human Kutsa has grown into such an exact likeness of his divine companion that he can only be distinguished by Sachi, the wife of Indra, because she is truth conscious." The parable is evidently of the inner life of man. It is a figure of the human growing into a likeness of the eternal divine by the increasing illumination of knowledge. The lady of Rik Nari, who could not distinguish between the god and human aspirant as they had grown one in likeness. Sarupa has been suggested by Griffith to be Kutsa's wife. This interpretation can stand, but hardly does it add anything spiritual to the contents, and Vamadeva, the rishi of the hymn, would not have bothered to mention it. However, it is an interpretation which is far superior to Saina's suggestion in which this lady is taken to be Sachi. But that would immediately deprive her of the native truth consciousness she always possessed. Indeed, though the human soul may grow in likeness of the divine soul, the two yet remain distinct, though one in identity yet separate. The individuality of the individual in the infinity of manifestation is a fundamental fact, and unless the soul decides to merge and go out of existence, ever remains so. Kutsa, taking a seat in Indra's chariot and accompanying him, was in pursuit of immortality and not for disappearance. The Kutsa in the parable belongs to the set of two Vedic Upanishadic birds on the same tree, or of Nara and Narayana of the Puranas, of the later day Aitihasic human warrior and the divine avatar on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everywhere the soul, instead of losing itself in the oversoul, gets enriched in a shining and superior oneness as the first basis for carrying out its role in the divinity to manifestation to enjoy truth and light and life's in contingent immortality. But if that immortality has to be functional in the wide terrestrial scheme, another cosmic transcendental dimension of the infinite has to emerge. The Satyavan Savitri myth has that suggestion in its lustrous Vedic symbolism. Satyavan's death is the death of the immortal in this mortal creation whose travail he had come to bear, that through it be got changed into fullness of the fourfold beatitude. The arrival of the process of time at the precise moment, the presence of Savitri as the executive will behind this transformative action, and the granting of the boons as a sanction of Supreme have as if designedly come together to accomplish this exceptional miracle. The birth of Goddess Savitri as Ashupati's daughter in response to his ardent prayer born out of an intense tapasya of 18 years, Narad's prophecy of Satyavan's death at the end of 1 year of marriage, getting back the soul of Satyavan fit to do her work on earth, as Yama had told Savitri, and they are taking the path towards the north at the bifurcation near the group of palasa trees, are greatly connotative of momentous happenings. There is no doubt that, in his far-reaching intuitive vision, the rishis saw all these as a clear image of sun in a tranquil lotus pond at the foot of the ancient hill. That makes the poetry too as marvelous. Ashwapati had offered every day 100,000 oblations to divine Savitri with the objective of receiving a boon from her to have several boons of a continuance of the holy yajna. The boon is granted, but he is told that he would get an effulgent daughter and that he should not have any hesitation in accepting it. Already a high intention is seeded in the tale, and the events have to develop with assured rapidity towards the unrevealed purpose and end. Again, most unexpectedly, Narad comes and makes an announcement of Satyavan's death exactly 1 year since then. Samvatsarena Shinayur Dehanyasam Karishyati. A luminous imponderable has appeared on the scene, and Narad, perhaps concealing the truth with truth, declares of it in a very definite way. He does not cast the horoscopes of the two young souls and mark the conjunction of the stars to foretell their future. Instead, carrying the knowledge that only 1 year is given to them, a mighty force is put by him in the decision Savitri has already arrived at. He had come to steal her will. But why 1 year? Is it a mystery to the sage as well as to the seer poet? Or do they have the sure intuition of a higher working which prompts them to state it so? The period of 1 year, namely one full cycle of seasons, is the earthly time, is very pertinent for the great purpose of the story. So also the exact hour and moment of death which Savitri recounts when Satyavan is about to die in the forest. But the year is symbolic and the hour is symbolic. About it, Sri Aurobindo tells, in the Puranas, the yugas, moments, months, etc. are all symbolic, and it has stated that the body of man is the year. Therefore, abandonment of the body, dehanyasa, at the end of the year, samvatsara, is the abandonment of the year itself. Satyavan leaves the scales of time and steps into some larger dimension where death will have no hold on him. If this is true, then we begin to see the power of spiritual poetry with its occult and living symbolism. We also begin to appreciate how the poet is consistent everywhere in its descriptions and notations, obviously because it is not by the method of ratiocination that he reaches it, but it is by direct spiritual contact, by the truth side, that he sees the whole thing in one single wide glance. Equally significant is the mention of the group of palasa trees. Again, the poet is not simply luxuriating here in epic details for the satisfaction of some aesthetic demands. The point d'appui is the significance of the flower of this tree, not the botanical Butia frondosa, not even the very poetic and appealing flame of forest, but what the mother sees as the beginning of the supramental realization. Satyavan asks Savitri to take the path turning towards the north at the group of palasa trees, north, Uttara, conveying again not only the northern but also the upward direction, superior, surpassing, excelling in every merit. Near the group of pilastries, the path bifurcates and moves in two different directions. Take the one which leads to the north, but now speed up, tells Satyavan to his timid as well as pretty and bright wife, Bhiru Shubha, asking her to hasten the pace for reaching the hermitage without further delay to join the parents and the rishis.